Hello, Sushi here with another recap of one of my games. And in this game, I do something that it's all I'll say is that it's the first for me. It's one of those things that shows up a lot in puzzles, but in games, I haven't really done it that much. I mean, the way that things developed is different from kind of like a lot of these puzzle solutions, but you'll see when you get there. So here I play e4. There's gonna be a Caro-Kann. I play knight c3, and I've been getting a lot more comfortable with kind of like takes. If they don't take, I'm not really sure what to do. But this variation, which most players play, like I'm getting pretty comfortable with this. So if you attack it this way or you attack it this way, I'll slide the knight back. Attacking the bishop, bishop goes back. So this is something that's kind of done a lot. And here I actually blunder this pawn. I messed up my move order. I should always play this knight first. And knight f3 is most of the time it's a good move. Like it's very rare for knight f3 to be a bad move. So it's always a good move you want to play. And my opponent misses this pawn. And honestly, even this trade isn't like super duper good for me. But I figure getting the queen out here, it's not under fire. And also it's like 2 pieces to 0. And I can get developed and castled much faster. Here, I'm not really sure what this queen e2 move is. I guess, like, I think generally e2 is a good square for the queen, but I don't really know why this is, like, such a pressing need. Another thing I considered was putting the thing here, but I wasn't really sure what was happening after this move. I can't even move here because that traps the bishop. So, yeah. So here I developed this, I guess, like, computer really wants e2. I think it kind of like defends the second rank as well. So if the queen swings out here, I could like block everything like that. I guess that's pretty good. So here, this kind of shows why this move was kind of lukewarm. But you know, I play here, and here I allow the capture to occur. Take, and then this knight can move somewhere. Maybe like here, I'm not really sure. So takes. Computer saying takes. So I think the idea is that if the knight moves anywhere, so takes, knight is under fire, and if the knight moves anywhere, I can queen trade. And this is slightly favorable for me because I got this nice pawn over here. So here the knight's under attack. You got to move it, otherwise you lose material. And the only sensible spot, I mean, you could move it here, but it's kind of like a little bit weird. I think this is an okay spot, but I don't know if this is better or that's better. But yeah, computer says this. I think the idea is to queen trade. Okay, continue attacking, but I feel like this is an okay move because it's like, you know, this knight is in a precarious position, and I got 2 knights out. And I'm going to grab the open file much easier than my opponent is, and I can infiltrate. Not here right now, but you know, I can infiltrate. I can even like go here to double my rooks. I guess it's this move, but still, like, this seems like pretty nice for me. But instead, I take with the knight. I felt like the central presence is good, and the opponent has to pull back. And I guess the issue with this is that this d pawn is now pretty soft, but I felt like it was like I had ways to deal with it. I wasn't sure what was gonna happen if my opponent pushed c5. Uh, I might have taken. I don't know. I don't know. Taken. Maybe I double rooks or double my heavies. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Um, so grab the open file. These 2 moves are kind of Uga, like pretty lazy, automatic moves that don't accomplish much per se, but they're just kind of like generally useful moves because, you know, d1, like this file can easily become open. It's half open for my opponent, and this pawn's kind of like like it's really good. It's controlling good squares, but it's also weak. So this is kind of like something that can come under fire pretty soon because of this half open file that my opponent has. So my opponent targets this pawn, and at this point, I kind of remembered something that uh, This pawn is, I guess you could take it, but it's very, very dangerous to take it because the rook swings over and then I can grab this pawn. So I decide to kind of give this pawn away. So here I just make my knight a little bit more active with the intention of eventually, after, I think my opponent has to take here because I can just damage the structure and I can just get in really easily. But the idea here is that if they do something stupid, I can let's say like queen takes here right now. I mean, knight takes knight is good, opening up the king for like a devastating attack. Another thing is I can kind of centralize the knight over here, and this knight is looking pretty juicy. So yeah, that was the idea with the move. And here, of course, I take with the queen. Taking with the rook disconnects a rook, which is going to be pretty important. And also this queen gives additional support to the b1 square, which I mentioned that I'm going to do. And here he takes my opponent takes a poison pawn. And you can see the evaluation swings in my favor. I'm gonna gambit this pawn over here, realizing that, you know, if somehow things trade into an endgame, I'm just down a pawn and there's going to be like a passed a pawn. So if I don't finish my opponent off, it's going to be pretty tough. But also it's going to be really tough for my opponent to defend because of this position. So here I gambit this pawn. So I'm down a pawn after this exchange. But look at this position. The knight can't really move anywhere. So you're going to see this pawn is going to be extremely bad for my opponent, like pretty soon. So my opponent here, this is a terrible move. This is like very ooga booga, like me see rook, me attack rook. So here, okay, I'm gonna explore this move in a bit, but the idea here is that, so the only thing I need to fear, just look how bad all of these pieces are. As long as the only thing I'm fearing is some sort of weird like back rank issues with my king. So this rook is, these rooks getting connected is very good because this rook keeps the 7th rank pressure and this rook is staying kind of like they're protecting each other. So this rook's protecting this rook from any sort of weird back rank tactics and this rook is protecting this rook from the queen. So yeah, I felt like this is a good move. And when you look at black's position here, like this knight can't move. This pawn is blocking this knight. And the reason why this queen move is an awful move is that the only square that the knight can move is being occupied by the queen. So in order to move, so like you're down basically 8 points of material. These two pieces are not in the game. And in order to activate these pieces, you need to move the queen and then move the knight. And so you're basically giving me 2 free turns to do whatever I want. I have 2 free, and look at this position. Like it's so crazy. Like it's so powerful. And even like if you do manage to move your knight here, my knight can maybe jump in. There's all sorts of crazy things that can happen. That's kind of not favorable for black. So yeah, like depriving every square for the knight to move is a very bad play. So anyway, let's explore. There was like a sacrifice here that the computer suggested. So here, if you don't take, that's just like bad news for you. If you do take, okay, so it's a knight's. Oh. So it's a knight sack for checkmate. Holy shit. This is crazy. The only legal move is this, and then there's checkmate. Okay, that was pretty sick. I think it's findable, this rook sack. I guess technically it's a knight sack. It's findable because there's this kind of thing that I've set up. And I set this up quite a long time ago. Like this is on purpose, the rook and queen battery. So it is findable, but like, look how crazy this is. Like, the queens don't see this pawn that I was criticizing because it blocks the knight's movement. I think my idea to infiltrate here is good because it limits the knight from a couple turns back. So over here, I've limited the knight. And I've limited the knight because of this C pawn. But the move that the computer finds here, so this rook sack, or this knight sack move, this move, it uses this C pawn as a different way. It uses this C pawn to block the queen. It's not blocking the knight, it's blocking the queen from the vision of e6. So that's a pretty nice tactic. It's findable, but it's also freaking amazing. That was pretty sick. Okay, so getting back to the, yeah, that was incredible. That was an incredible tactic. So getting back to the game here, opponent moves the king over. I kind of wonder if now I can go for some sort of check. Yeah, I could. I'm not really sure why I didn't. I don't know what I didn't like about it. Because if king comes over, I can even like take here. There's all sorts of discoveries, here or whatever. So actually, let's just play with this. So if I take here, I mean, if rook takes, that's obviously bad. Like, look how crazy this position. But it does activate this guy. So if I do this, I think rook takes is best. It's either rook takes or king over. Those are the only two moves. And I kind of wonder here, what is the response? So knight over. Sacrificing the knight. Holy fuck. You're really that desperate. Yeah, if this is the best move, then yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, yeah. Yeah, so I don't really know why I didn't do that. And then another thing I saw is that if the rook doesn't have to take, right? So let's say king over. I saw this as well, and this sets up a discovery, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, as soon as the king moved over, I don't know why I didn't see that. So pretty bad on my part. And here, I thought it messed up. So I wanted to set something up. Oh yeah, I wanted to attack this one because as soon as I move the queen over, I think rook takes is. I'm not really sure what I was planning here. I think this takes is good. The problem with knight takes is that now the knight is kind of like stuck. But then I could just like move my queen somewhere. So yeah, I was attacking this pawn that was already under fire. I don't really know what I was thinking here. So at this point, I was thinking to myself like, oh no, like, did I mess up the attack? Just because like from this position, this looks unlosable. Like I have no, like, it's going to be checkmate really soon, and there's no way to lose this. Like that's kind of what I thought from this position. So when this move was played, I was like, oh no, did I fuck up? Like was queen f3 a bad? Yes, queen f3 was a bad move. But I wondered to myself, like, no, like, if I move here, the knights get traded off, and the rooks get freed up. This is just like, I messed up. And like, if I move the knight anywhere else, I feel like my attack fizzles out. Like, what did I do wrong? Like this, and if my attack fizzles out, black is up a pawn with a passed a pawn. So at this point I realized that by moving the f pawn, something else becomes a target, and that something else is a king. I slide the queen over. Again, it's not like super hard to find, but it was a nice move given my kind of mental state at this time, that, you know, did I fuck up, that kind of thing. Like, it's easy to just like collapse when you make a fuck up move. So the idea is to threaten checkmate. And I realized that if you do this whole thing again, I have a couple of choices. I could slide the queen over again. That's always an option to take. So if I show this, let's say this, I could slide this guy over to threaten this. And yeah, and I could also threaten the check over here. So here, And then here, I think the move is check. One of these two checks. I can't tell the difference, but I think check. And then it's going to be mate. So yeah, so I saw this whole sequence where I could keep stepping my queen over, but I could also just sack the knight over here because this is check. So here, this is where the magic happens. So this checkmate's threatened, and we kind of like went over why this doesn't work. I think here, same thing. I could slide over. I think it's the same problem. But anyway, so at this point, rook goes over. Rook goes over because my opponent sees this checkmate. But rook goes over, there's a drawback to this move. And this move leads to smother mate. This is the first time I've ever pulled off this tactic. It's, like all these masters are making YouTube videos like, oh, like this is a very common theme. I've never performed a smother mate in my life. This is a first.